Welcome to The Debate. So, imagine you are pitching a $1 million project to a board of directors.
Okay, high stakes right off the bat.
Exactly. Your core idea is genuinely brilliant. Your delivery is magnetic. I mean, you have the room completely in the palm of your hand.
Right.
But you repeatedly use double negatives, you drop your prepositions, you just totally mangle your verb tenses. Does the deal die right there in the room?
Oh man, that's a nightmare scenario.
It really is. And today we are examining a fundamental tension in how we connect. What is more critical for effective communication? Perfect grammar or speaking confidently?
It really is a fascinating divide, and it touches on almost every interaction we have.
Absolutely.
On one side, you have the rules, the syntax, the exactitude of the language. And on the other side, you have the human element, the momentum of just keeping an interaction alive without agonizing over every single syllable.
Exactly. And my position is that perfect grammar is the absolute foundation of credibility and clarity. Grammatical precision is the architecture that prevents a message from collapsing under the weight of misinterpretation.
Okay, but
Without it, confidence is really just loud confusion.
well, I come at it from a totally different way. I mean, confidence and conversational flow are just far more crucial to actual human connection.
You think so?
I do. Hesitation and this paralyzing obsession with grammatical perfection destroy communication much faster than any misplaced verb tense ever could.
Let's look at where this tension actually plays out in the real world, though. Think about the historical rise of business English, or the highly formalized language required in global commerce.
Sure.
It didn't just emerge out of linguistic snobbery. It evolved because global commerce requires the predictable transfer of highly specific, consequential data.
Right.
Grammar is essentially the compression algorithm of human thought. It allows us to pack massive amounts of relational data like time, condition, causality, all into a tiny burst of sound. When you mess up the grammar, the listener's brain fails to decompress the file correctly.
Wait, a compression algorithm? So you're arguing that an executive who constantly dangles modifiers is inherently less effective than one who speaks perfectly, purely because the file didn't decompress?
Yes, in a structural sense, yes.
I'm sorry, I just can't accept that. You're talking about human beings as if they are computers parsing code. Human communication prioritizes momentum and warmth. Have you ever looked into the fluency heuristic?
The psychological concept, right?
Right. It's the psychological mechanism where our brains mistake the ease of processing information for its truthfulness or credibility.
Okay.
You are arguing that perfect grammar creates that ease. But I would argue that confident delivery, steady eye contact, and smooth pacing, that creates an incredibly powerful sense of fluency.
It can create the illusion of fluency, sure.
It's functional. If you are listening to this right now while drafting a Slack message to your boss, think about what you're doing. Are you agonizing over a comma, or are you just trying to get the status update out the door to keep the project moving?
I mean, I have absolutely been the person agonizing over the comma.
Oh, we all have.
But there is a structural reason for it. Let's talk about the cognitive burden you impose when you prioritize momentum over rules. Human working memory is limited. It's literally like a computer's RAM.
Okay, tracking with you.
When someone confidently uses the wrong verb tense, saying something like, tomorrow I went to the store, the listener's brain actually has to pause its semantic processing.
To figure out what they meant.
Exactly. It has to reverse engineer the speaker's timeline. You are literally stealing their working memory. That is why listeners start to perceive a speaker as less credible. They are unconsciously frustrated by the cognitive tax you've just imposed on them.
I hear that, but I think you're overestimating how fragile our working memory is in casual conversation.
I really don't think I am. I remember early in my career sitting in a meeting where a vendor was so intensely focused on projecting this alpha-level confidence that his actual sentences were structurally incoherent.
Oh, we've all met that guy.
Right? He was speaking quickly and boldly, maintaining intense eye contact, but we all left the room completely exhausted. We spent the next 20 minutes trying to piece together what he had actually promised to deliver.
That sounds painful.
It was. His confidence didn't help. It just disguised his lack of clarity until he left the room.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that your vendor's core problem was a lack of grammar. His problem was a lack of clarity, which is a different issue entirely.
They are deeply connected.
But you are isolating communication to these formal, high-stakes presentations. What is the reality of the modern workplace?
Which is?
It's rapid-fire video calls, it's instant messaging, it is small talk by the coffee machine. When someone hesitates in a fast-paced meeting to mentally search for the perfect subjunctive clause, worrying about whether they should say if I were you instead of if I was you,
Right.
the moment to speak has already passed them by.
But does that hesitation necessarily damage their credibility?
Absolutely, it does. That hesitation doesn't read as deliberate and thoughtful to the rest of the room. In real time, it unfortunately reads as incompetence. Or, a lack of knowledge about the subject matter itself.
You think people jump to incompetence that quickly?
Yes. The listener doesn't think, oh, they are carefully constructing their grammar. The listener thinks they don't know the answer.
I see why you think that, but let me give you a different perspective on that equation. You say clarity and grammar aren't the same thing, but grammar is the mechanism of clarity.
How so?
A confident delivery cannot save a fundamentally corrupted message. If you confidently tell a client, we did not ship the product, when you meant to say, we should not have shipped the product,
Oh, well, yeah, that is bad.
that is not a minor hiccup in conversational flow. That is a massive, tangible workplace disaster. The tense fundamentally changes the reality of the situation.
Sure, in that specific example.
Grammar is the code that determines meaning. If the code is wrong, the confident delivery merely ensures that the incorrect information is spread faster and more convincingly.
I acknowledge the risk of specific syntactical errors changing a meaning in extreme cases. But you are vastly underestimating the role of context here.
Context doesn't fix a broken sentence.
It usually does, actually. Humans don't communicate in isolated syntax bubbles. Meaning is almost always derived from the situation, the body language, and the broader relationship.
Okay?
If a product box is sitting right in front of the client, they know it shipped, regardless of the verb tense you just used. Humans are incredibly adept at inferring what someone means, which brings me to the profound danger of your rigid framework.
The danger of wanting to be understood accurately?
No, the danger of prescriptivism. This hyper-focus on grammatical perfection is rooted in the idea that there is one rigid, correct set of rules handed down from on high.
Well, standard rules do exist.
But language is descriptive. It evolves based on how people actually use it in the real world. When we enforce this rigid standard, look at the psychological toll it takes. Look at the immense pressure on professionals to undergo accent reduction or to try and speak like a native.
Which is a massive industry, yes.
And it creates an intense psychological barrier. It forces language learners or even just junior employees who don't come from highly academic backgrounds into a state of total paralysis.
I see your point.
By demanding they run this complex compression algorithm flawlessly before daring to open their mouths, you are silencing valuable voices in the room. The fear of making a syntactical mistake stops brilliant people from sharing their ideas.
I completely agree that silencing valuable voices is a tragedy. No one wants an environment where people are too terrified to speak.
Exactly.
But if we deprioritize grammar in favor of mere momentum, at what point does confident speech just become confident gibberish? Where is the line?
The line is drawn by the success of the outcome. Are they understood?
But consider the asymmetrical burden that places on the listener.
What do you mean?
If a speaker is entirely unmoored from grammatical rules, relying completely on the listener to graciously decode their context and guess their meaning, the speaker is acting selfishly.
Selfishly? That's a strong word.
It is. The speaker gets to feel confident and relaxed, while the listener has to work twice as hard to figure out what is actually being said. Standardized grammar is a courtesy. It is the speaker doing the hard work of structuring the thought beforehand so the listener doesn't have to struggle.
That is a compelling argument. But have you considered that this cognitive burden you speak of is exactly what builds empathy and human connection?
Empathy through poor grammar? Please, explain that mechanism to me.
Think about it. When we have to lean in, when we have to actively listen and co-construct meaning with someone who might be struggling with a complex sentence structure but is fiercely trying to communicate an idea to us,
Yeah.
that builds a genuine bridge. It requires active participation from both parties rather than passive consumption of perfect data.
It is definitely a more active process, yes.
And frankly, since we are talking about the burden of generating perfect grammar, we have to acknowledge that the landscape has fundamentally shifted. Everything you just said about the necessity of mastering syntax is based on a world where humans have to generate it from scratch. We don't live in that world anymore.
Ah, you're referring to the proliferation of large language models and AI in our daily communication.
Exactly. We are looking at a present reality where AI is practically replacing traditional translation and grammar checking. Large language models have commoditized perfect syntax.
That is very true.
Any email, any Slack message, any formal report can be run through an algorithm and polished to absolute grammatical perfection in milliseconds. Because of this, perfect written grammar is no longer a differentiator of human intelligence or capability. The machine handles the architecture now.
And what does that mean for human interaction, in your view?
It means it's spoken confidence, the ability to engage in unscripted human connection, the warmth and emotional intelligence required for workplace small talk. These are now the true, irreplaceable markers of a great communicator.
So the technology frees us up, right?
If a computer can fix your syntax in your written documents, your ultimate human value lies in your confident presence and your ability to keep a dynamic conversation flowing in the room.
That's an interesting point, though. I would frame it very differently. I look at that exact same technological shift, the rise of AI grammar tools, and I draw the precise opposite conclusion about what we value.
Wait, how so? You think AI makes intrinsic human grammar more important?
I absolutely do. Because AI makes perfect written grammar utterly ubiquitous and cheap, inherent grammatical knowledge becomes more of a premium marker of true intellectual credibility in face-to-face, unscripted environments.
I'm not following.
Think of it this way. 10 years ago, if I received a flawlessly written email from a potential hire or a vendor, I could safely assume they possessed a mastery of the language and the precision of thought the complex language requires.
Right, because they wrote it themselves.
Exactly. Today, I can no longer make that assumption. I might just assume they have a very good AI assistant. The written word has been devalued.
I'll grant you that.
But when I sit across from them in a meeting, without a screen, without an algorithm smoothing out their thoughts in real time, their ability to speak with grammatical precision becomes the ultimate proof of their actual competence. Relying on AI for the rules makes intrinsic, unscripted mastery of those rules a rare and highly prized asset. It proves that the structure of their thinking is sound, not just their software. But you are still equating grammatical precision with sound thinking. I fundamentally disagree with that parallel.
Why? They usually go hand in hand.
Not necessarily. Some of the most brilliant, innovative thinkers I've encountered in professional spheres struggle with the rigid confines of standard formal English. They might speak in fragmented bursts. They might jump tenses mid-sentence because their ideas are moving faster than traditional syntax allows.
Sure, but they still need to be understood.
Yes, but if we judge their intellectual credibility based on their real-time grammatical perfection, we are filtering out visionary thinking in favor of mere administrative compliance.
Administrative compliance? That's a bit reductive.
But it's true. The technology takes the administrative burden of grammar off our plates precisely so we can focus on the confident exchange of big, messy,